industry talks about 1 lakh crore of disbursement per month minimum. So these are rough estimates because there's no scientific data behind this. A broad data says it could be a little over 1 lakh crore also in a month. So that's the type of amount. But if you really get into this so-called affordable segment, then the whole market shrinks dramatically because this is a segment where you don't get to see the real income because there are small petty businessmen like small shops, small traders where you get to see roadside shops, vegetable vendors, people who are work in life, but they are for various reasons. And they do have income, but then they have enough income to file IT returns, or they don't have enough income to show up in papers, or much of banking is still not there. While these two initiatives of government on GST and various other initiatives have brought the entire cash into the banking stream, but still IT returns are still far away. And as you all broadly know, even if you make up to a 4 lakh income per annum, by and large, the tax payable is almost nil. So there's no motive for such people who make 20-25,000 a month to file an IT return. And this is a large segment. So this is a segment where no traditional bankers stay away. This is where most of the other institutions don't step into because they are not sure whether this person is earning so much or not. When somebody says I'm earning 25,000 rupees and there's no proof, so how do we validate it? So should I lend or not lend? So conservative bankers will completely stay away from such segment because there is enough to be lent based on people who are working in good companies, people who are doing business with filing proper IT returns. And there is so much of banking transactions through which you can validate. There's a GST to validate. Then so much data is available for 90% population, so to speak. Why get into a 10% population which may or may not have enough data? And tomorrow, there's also an accountability which comes on the managers. End of the day, bankers are public servants, sort of. Okay, multiple court judgments have said whether you are a private sector bank employee or a public sector bank employee, or various definitions of lending, you're treated as a sort of a public servant. And it is the public money which we are involved. Whether you're a private sector bank or public sector bank, money comes from the same common man who puts it in FD or RD or savings account. That's the money which is used. And even if you are in HFCs, housing finance companies, or various other institutions which do lend, okay, they also borrow from government, borrow from regulators, NHB and all, or refinance, people who provide refinance. They borrow from various mutual funds. There also public money is involved. They also borrow from various banks, which is also giving them long-term loans. With such borrowing, only these institutions are also lending. So again, ultimately, the money belongs to common man. So there is an accountability, there is a responsibility that money has to be recovered back with appropriate interest so that all stakeholders are involved. And on top of that, if you really look at the expenses for most of the institutions in services of banking and related, a sizable percentage will be employee cost. So that means hundreds and thousands of employees get employment because of this. And that is where those institutions also have to invest. So a lot of employment generation also happens when there are more and more such institutions. And there are more and more small finance banks, more and more NBFCs, more and more HFCs. It not only serves various segments which are otherwise unserved, but it also generates employment in terms of people who are recruited, and there are various other related expenses which are incurred, which also serves the economy. So coming back to affordable, there are multiple definitions of what is affordable, but broadly we will stay with what government says is affordable. Okay, Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning, which is under central government. So broadly has three categories of affordable housing. The first is economically weaker section, EWS as they are popularly called. If you read articles, you will find EWS segment. Okay, if you are curious into this space, you will find EWS as a very common terminology, which some of you may or may not be aware. But the other two terminologies you will be knowing, LIG and MIG. LIG is lower income group and MIG is middle income group. So these are the three broad segments under which government defines what is affordable, not affordable. On this, there are definitions. So basically, an EWS is somebody who earns less than 25,000 a month. Somebody owns more than 25,000 but less than 50,000 a month. They are called LIG, lower income group. And somebody owns little over that and up to 1.5 lakhs a month. They are called middle income group. And these are the segments where government wants institutions to lend. And while by and large, everybody will serve this middle income group because it's talking about 50,000 family income and above. Anything below that, especially when you are not able to validate that income, then all banks take a back step. And what is affordability? Or if somebody, supposing somebody's income is 25,000 rupees, how much you can lend? So there also there are broad some rules around that. Broadly, people say that up to 1/3 could be his installment. So if somebody is earning 25,000 rupees, ideally 8,000 should be a monthly installment, not beyond that. Then otherwise, they cannot pay such high installments. So then your lending has to be restricted around that installment, because we know upfront that a person earning 25,000 cannot pay more than 8,000 as installment. So if he comes and says, give me a 20 lakh loan where I will pay 18,000 installments, we know that it is not possible. If he pays 18,000, there's nothing left for him to survive. He has to pay rent, he has to take care of his family, food, provisions, school, travel, transport. All those expenses have to be taken care. So it's important that as a lender, as an institution, you should also know what it is. So if you now having decided that 8,000 could be the only installment, maximum installment he can pay, then the loan cannot be higher. Then loan has to be in that range of 9 lakhs to 10 lakhs per, that's for that family. So then there has to be a housing stock available in that segment for that family to buy. There's a maximum of 90% loan to value can be given here. That means if he is buying a 10 lakh property and assuming that there is a 10 lakh unit available, and the maximum loan can be given to him is only 9 lakhs. So that is the challenge. First of all, you don't have such ticket units available. And second is that his expectation is that, no, I have identified a 25 lakh property because that's the smallest unit available in the town. Okay, he thinks at least that much you should be in a position to buy. But he doesn't understand the arithmetic that he cannot borrow 20 lakhs. He cannot be paying 18,000 when his income is 25,000. So this is the challenge. Again comes this whole carpet area related issues. What could be the size of those units? Because you can't buy bigger units. Bigger the size of units, then the cost obviously goes up. As you know, that there are per square foot some rules around this whole segment. Sorry, just kidding. So if something has to become affordable, then the unit sizes have to come down dramatically. The earlier example which we discussed, if the gentleman can only borrow 8 to 9 lakhs, then you need to have a house which is in the range of 10 lakhs or 12 lakhs, so that he can manage his balance 2-3 lakhs by selling his jewelry or with some savings and FD and whatever. And with all that, he could be in a position to do. If that is the situation, then government has to encourage constructing more and more smaller size units in the outskirts of cities so that the cost can be managed. I hope up to this people are able to comprehend, because this is the crux of the whole arithmetic, and whatever we discuss in future will all revolve around this. Just to recap what I wanted to communicate, broadly the government says there is an economically weaker section, there is an LIG segment, there is an MIG segment. So under EWS, his income is less than 25,000 a month. Under LIG, the income levels are like 25 to 50,000 a month, and MIG 50,000 to 1.5 lakhs a month. So for each of them, typically as a thumb rule, 1/3 could be an installment. But higher the income level, if you're talking about a middle income group, the income is more than 50,000, maybe he can pay more than 1/3. He can pay 40%, he can pay 45% max. So their affordability is not a bigger challenge, but still it is a challenge when you especially look at cities like Mumbai and NCR, Gurgaon, Belt, core Bangalore, core Chennai, middle of the Chennai, middle of Hyderabad. So where the unit prices are all already about 1 crore, 1.5 crore types. So if that is the case, then they have to borrow close to that range, because their lending is only up to 75% of the loan to value. Means people can only, they can borrow only 75% of the loan amount, balance 25, they have to get it. If they have to borrow so much, then they should be in a position to serve the installments also to the extent. So we need to understand this. So that means that if we have to really go and help that segment of affordable, then we need more and more smaller unit houses. And if there are and in the peripheries, you cannot be having it part of Chennai and have a smaller unit. Still, it could be costlier and beyond the reach of this 10 lakh, 15 lakh type loan segments. So the whole need for such affordable, because till say 10, 12 years back, I don't think anybody in India seriously worried about what is called affordable housing. Why? Primarily because everything seems to be sort of affordable maybe at that point in time. And there is plenty of land available in the outskirts of cities where people can buy, say, as a thumb rule, I'm just generally saying, can buy a piece of land for 5 lakhs 15 years back, outskirts. And you can construct for another 5 lakhs. So that 10 lakhs example I was giving was sort of helping them to close their hole. So there were like thousands and thousands of independent houses which were in the 10 lakh segment. And this 5 lakh thing of land was also acquired after 10 years of saving, 15 years of saving, right? And there are occasions where we have seen even among our relatives and friends that the parents work for 25 years and then finally at the time of retirement, they get to buy their house. But all these things are changing dramatically in the last 15 years. There is aspirational levels, right? The moment the people get into employment, they do want to immediately acquire an asset, and especially with multiple tax break and all of those things available, a lot of consultants, advisors, chartered accountants tell those employees, customers to get into house purchase as quickly as possible. While the acquisition of house has not dramatically fallen from earlier days, but whatever pre 20 years, 15 years back story of people buying at 45 and 50 and all of them, now it has come to around 35. Still, it requires a good 8 to 10 years of working experience, unless you happen to be in some very, very big institutions where your affordability dramatically goes up, which could be 0.5% of the population or less. But for majority, it still takes a few years of good savings to at least get your own contribution right, so that you plunge into this housing loan and get a house for your own. So to talk about this core issue is that there was a few years back affordable land available, which was like for say 5 lakhs, 4 lakhs or whatever. But that is not the case any longer. Affordability of land is a problem right now because the land prices have dramatically shot up. The land prices across peripheries of all big cities over a period of 15 years have jumped by 300 to 400%, in some instances 1000%, 10x. What was available at 5 lakhs 15 years back is not available even at 50 lakhs today. If that being the case, then entire land affordability of having those smaller units, individual houses of your own becomes almost impossible. So if that is the situation, then this whole arithmetic of what our parents did of going to the outskirts of the town and buying a small piece of land and a good house to live is no longer viable. You have to go further 20 kilometers away, 30 kilometers away to a next town or whatever. And even there, land prices have shot up. So if that being the case, then there has to be a real affordability around the land. That is one of the challenges of the government. If you are running government, you are part of government, future, whatever you intend doing, if you are part of that, then that becomes a challenge. People, that point in time. So the point I wanted to make is like whatever. So you can say 2009-10 space, that there is an economic slowdown which you would have seen based on whatever has happened world over during that phase. You can broadly categorize this affordable story post that. Pre that, there is enough land available and there were enough launches of various segments and builders were getting construction finance, and they used to get a lot of advances from customers, and they were using the surplus money to buy the next set of land, that the world was moving smoothly for them. And once that sort of crisis happened world over, then they could no longer acquire those lands, because earlier they were not paying the whole money for the land. They were only paying some advances getting some joint ventures, then started doing those projects, which is no longer the case. Now, nobody wants to give their land with some part money and get stuck. So a lot of things have also changed. As I said, land prices have also dramatically gone up, and there is very few players who give construction finance to builders. You have a handful of institutions which fund them. So if that is the case for normal housing which moves faster, so imagine an affordable housing where the customer profile is also not all that clear. The land which could be acquired could have its own challenges, and the way that developer might be, because the developer who is coming to the segment could also be having a questionable repute. Or so this is how it evolved about 10 years back. Now fast forward 10 years. Now a lot of big builders, all reputed builders, have all gone into this segment. They've understood the importance of such segment, and they know how big is this space. So a lot of such activities have started happening, but it evolved over a period of time. And I think it will take another 5 to 10 years more to fully evolve. So this is the background to this whole thing on affordable housing as a piece. And there have been multiple meetings which government has had with various stakeholders, like obviously bankers and builders, because these are people who supply. The builder has to go and acquire such land and start such projects, and bankers should be in a position to fund that builder as well as fund his end customers. Because there is nobody who was ready to go and appraise a customer whose income is not very clear, not known in public domain. Or see, normally what happens, you validate an income through, supposing you are a salaried person, you validate that income through your payslip under Form 16. You cross-check that income through your bank statement, whether monthly credits are happening. Okay. You also look at his savings, how much FD he has got, how much RD he has got, what is his saving habit, has he got into mutual fund, has he got into insurance savings. Okay, both from protection point of view as well as from as an investment or tax or otherwise. And what other things they have got into, other investments, jewelry, whatever. This is how a traditional appraisal used to happen. So if you are appraising an individual with those set of papers, then life becomes much easier for a banker, because bankers are accountable, as I said earlier. If you have done something wrong, you are accountable. They will be pulled by various stakeholders, including your investors and obviously the outside, which could be an investigation agencies or whatever. Because if something goes wrong, then they look for those papers. And if you say there is no income in affordable segment, and we just assumed that he has an income, nobody is going to believe us. So you need to have appropriate documentation also to justify why you lent to a segment. In an affordable segment, unlike a normal segment, there is no payslip. If there is a payslip, there is no way to validate it, because you could have got a cash salary. So if you look at his bank statement on 1st of every month, there will be no credit, which should be the case for any other instance. Okay, and we do not know the leverage, because if something happens in cash, then you don't get to see what all can happen. Because most of you might by now be aware that there is something called a CIBIL report. A CIBIL is a word which is being commonly used, while there are other agencies as well. But CIBIL report is something which is commonly spoken about with some good scores and all of them. So whoever has borrowed and repaid properly gets a good CIBIL score. And there are institutions which are ready to lend to those individuals only based on good CIBIL scores. So what is a good CIBIL score? Whatever number it could be, I don't want to get those numbers of whether 700 is a good score, 750 is a good score. So typically CIBIL scores are in that range. But the point is that this helps banks to see a repayment track record pattern of a customer. Like if he has taken a small, say 50,000 loan or a 1 lakh loan, and he's paying his 1,000 rupee, 2,000 rupee installment properly, then banks can safely assume that for a housing loan, maybe we can give him 10 times that. We can give him a 10 lakh loan and he will pay 8,000 properly. So these are all built over a period of time, right? Normally what happens, the first step of borrowing is sort of indirectly is through credit card. Credit card is where we all start our life with. The moment we get some stable income, our parents have those things, we get some add-on costs. So you start swiping the card and start using money which is not yours at this point in time, and you have to repay that money within that EMI cycle or whatever is the day of payment for the cards. And then slowly people start getting into certain personal loans or whatever. then you maybe take a two-wheeler loan, then you then get into a housing. This is how the progress happens. But again, in this segment of affordable, such things even do not exist because they've never borrowed. They don't get a credit card because they don't have a stable income which can be seen. While many of them might have a stable income, there's no way to validate it through normal lenses. Okay, so that's the backdrop of this story. Again, if you take one step back and see what is the reason why suddenly there is a segment which is not getting any loan, and there is another segment which is getting a lot of loan, because everywhere you will see advertisements for home loan, everywhere you will see advertisements for credit card, you will keep getting SMSs, messages, your parents, brothers, that you will get a card, you will get this, you will get that. But there is another section is probably working, probably earning, doing some petty businesses, but they don't get anything. All right. One of the primary reasons for this is also the rapid urbanization which happened in this country. Okay. So there are estimates that by 2030, which is like hardly 8 years from now, close to 60 crore people will live in urban area. Okay. So that's a lot of population. So if that is the case, then you will have, and then majority of these people who are moving. Historically, people used to say that from a poor state, people move to richer state. So all those trends are all changing now. Okay. And the people are moving within their states also, and whatever it is, ultimately, wherever there is employment, people are moving there. And urbanization is happening at a very, very rapid pace. So what is news for this is, from an affordable home point of view, the demand is going to further rise rapidly. Okay. What has happened because of this rapid urbanization over a period of last 10, 12 years, and whatever is going to expected to happen in the next 7, 8 years, is primarily that home prices have gone up beyond the inflation, beyond your wage growth. So what is this? Supposing with a 20,000 salary, somebody could have bought a good 10 lakh worth house 20 years back. Now, that salary of 20,000 with whatever a 7-8% increment and whatever has gone up to 30,000. Now, instead of a 10,000 installment, is ready to pay 15,000 installment, but is not getting a similar size house because the home prices have outpaced the inflation and the salary growth. So this is the challenge of urbanization and rising demand. Okay. At the same time, now every Indian, if you really look at, especially these aspiring lower income people, all of them want to have a house of their own. Unlike certain Western countries where they don't care whether they own a house or whatever. Okay. In India, there is a sentimental value attached to the purchase of house. So everybody, there is an aspiration to buy a house, and there is an affordability mismatch, and there is a rapid urbanization. This triangle is the demand driver, if I may say so. This is what is driving the affordable housing segment. Rapid urbanization. There is a demand because your income is not growing at the pace at which the house prices have gone. And third is that there is an aspiration to buy house. So with this combination, there is enough demand around this segment of affordable housing. But what are the supply drivers? Something has to come. As I touched upon a little earlier, one is availability of land. Somebody wants a unit for 10 lakhs. If I am a builder, I have to buy a land for say 50 crores and construct. Then I cannot be selling my flats at 10 lakhs, right? It will be sold at 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs. Then only I can make my P&L right. If that being the case, how do we get land at an affordable cost? It's a challenge. And there is shortage in this space. So government has to intervene, without which such segment cannot go up dramatically. So that is something. In the past, maybe we can say that policy measures were not good enough to address this segment, and probably some of the state governments have failed in this segment. However, there's a lot of efforts being put by practically all states to ensure that there is enough supply of land in an affordable manner. How? We will speak about it little later. Then comes this entire lending from commercial banks and home finance organizations. Nobody wants to lend this segment because, as I said, we don't know how to appraise them. I don't have an income document. I'm worried about what can happen if I lend to somebody who is maybe generally sitting at home. So these are the two big challenges from a supply driver point of view. Then comes the scope for this is unlimited, as I say, because we call it as bottomless barrel. What is bottomless barrel? Is like the potential is so huge that you keep digging, you'll keep getting. So there is one estimate that there are 8 crore households, not individuals, household, families, 8 crore families live in slums. All of them have to be upgraded in life. So the potential market size is going up and up and up. So that is why I called it as bottomless barrel. And there are enough urban poor and lower income in tier 1 to 4 cities. So their demand has to be met. So what happened? Slowly, government after government in various states started releasing land parcels because government is the biggest land owner. Not sure whether it is echoing. Hello, is it echoing or is it okay? Can somebody confirm I am clear? My audio is?
Yes, sir.
It's not echoing, no?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So first thing is that government is the biggest landowner. If you go around and see everywhere, government owns most of the land parcels. So if affordable segment construction has to go up, then government has to release the land at a cheaper cost. So you will see multiple constructions happening at various states. Like for example, say from Tamil Nadu, you get to see a Tamil Nadu housing board, right? There's a Karnataka housing board. There's every state has its own housing boards. They do their own constructions and try to dispose of assets or rent it out. But that model didn't sustain because beyond the point, government is not in the business of constructing. Government is not a builder. They don't have core competence. Then they started collaborating with private players. Like I would say West Bengal started this initiative first. West Bengal collaborated with various private players, gave them a land parcel. They were like sort of a sleeping partner and they made them do the construction. So what happened is multiple builders were doing projects at the same time and there was a joint venture between government of West Bengal and those players. So the supply side increased dramatically so that prices are also kept constant. Government, while giving land to those builders, clearly told them you cannot sell above this price. So that forced them to come out with smaller units because no builder will do anything for a loss. Okay, none of them are there into charity. So they are pure business players. So they innovated. They come out with smaller units. They came out with one-bedroom houses. In costlier places like Mumbai, there are like one-room kitchen. So there is a room, there is a kitchen. That's it. That is what you get for 20 lakhs. So that is what the customers can afford. If affordability is a question, then obviously unit sizes shrinks. So government started doing this. These are all like I'm sharing over a 10 year, 15-year story of whatever multiple governments started doing. Government also started incentivizing individual customers by giving them tax rebates. So you have to pay lesser tax if you have taken a housing loan, if it is a first housing loan. Up to 1.5 lakh, there's a reduction available. Okay. And to builders, they gave them an affordable infrastructure status. Infrastructure status given for affordable housing means lesser tax outflow for builders. So that also moved various builders to move to the segment. Okay. Similarly, on GST, so everywhere there is a tax. If it is for affordable housing, they brought it down to 1%. This is the lowest segment in terms of percentage of tax payment. Having brought this down, there is enough interest which is evinced by various builders to get into this segment. So this is how, as from a government point of view, they were pushing, giving infrastructure status, reducing the GST, giving tax benefit to customers, releasing land parcels in collaboration with private players, that these stocks can go up dramatically. But believe me, these are not overnight developments. These all take years, and the governments of across the country have shown enough agility in such space and to ensure that this segment is sorry, successful. So we will just have a look at it from the financier's point of view, because these are the two things we spoke about from constraint. One is from land availability point of view, what all government did to increase the supply. The other one is who is going to fund those customers. Okay, the starting point is the customer profile. So it could be a formal segment or an informal segment. What is informal segment? It's basically a person who is working, doing business, is running a small hotel, running some small petty shop, which you can go walk in and validate. But then beyond that, there's nothing else to validate. You can't ask for his IT return, you can't ask for his bank statement, you don't get to see anything. So what happened is some of these specialized institutions created departments which will focus on this segment, will study this segment, which will they created experts to appraise such customers. Then they realize there are more and more challenges than what you get to see. It's not just the income alone. If this segment is going and buying, there could be challenges in the collateral as well. What could be the challenge? Historically, bankers used to lend only in an approved layout. Construction should be as per plan. These are regulatory requirements. But then this is a segment which has gone beyond that. So they don't have approved layouts. They go on construct in the panchayat area. Okay, they do some self-constructions in their own family plots. So if you ask for those approvals, it may or may not be there. So then bankers have to figure out alternate way of ensuring that the quality of collateral is intact. It is within the regulatory guidelines, and we don't violate any of those norms in the name of serving these customers. So they have to do further deep study on how to further segment it, so that whatever is proper, what is the meaning of proper is what is legally valid, what is regulatorily acceptable. So then they understood some of those segments. Then they started funding such segments. So there are two things involved in a real estate business. One is appraising a customer. Second is appraising the asset. Because end of the day, the asset is going to help the banker to recover the money if there is any challenges in terms of intent. The customer's ability and intent are two things of appraisal, as we say. Okay, if there's an ability, you will pay. But if there's an intent issue, there are some customers, which is like 1% of the customers out of 100 will have an intent issue, not repaying the loan. Then if there's a good collateral, that will act as a threat, and it will ensure that the customers repay the loan. But this is more from banker's point of view. And obviously, this is a segment which cannot be priced at whatever you might be seeing advertisements, home loan at 6.5% per annum, 6.75% per annum. But this is not a segment where you can lend at 6.5, 6.7. So are very, very thin margin businesses. So this is a segment where the bankers have started lending at around 10% to 12%. And some of them even go up, some NBFCs even lend at 14% to 18% per annum as well. So when there is a risk on employment, when there is a risk on collateral, certain bankers started trying to understand that segment and go deeper into the legal, come out with certain segments which are acceptable as per the risk appetite, as per the legal process, and as per the regulatory guidelines. All these things have to fit in for the bankers to lend. And it was also appropriately priced. That is what we call it as risk-based pricing. So with this, some of the people have started getting into lending. So if you look at this prominent players in this affordable segment, is like obviously I'm from ICICI Home Finance. All of you know ICICI Bank as a group is one of the biggest institutions in this country in private sector space. ICICI Home Finance is a 100% subsidiary of the bank, and it is primarily focusing on affordable segment. So you also have Mahindra Home Finance, you have Shri Housing Finance, which is a South-based company. There's an IIFL Home Loans, there's an Aadhar Housing, there's Awas Housing, So we have so many such institutions which are into this segment in a specialized manner. This is the general background of affordable. Now that I've taken about 40 minutes, I would request whether there are any questions around this, and then accordingly I'll take a pause here and request if people have some questions, they can ask so that we can spend the balance 20 minutes or so in that. Anybody has any questions around whatever we discussed? By and large, I have covered the subject. I just wanted you to ask some clarifications, questions, so that we can have a meaningful discussion. And no question is right or wrong. So don't worry, am I asking a stupid question? Of all you know, others are also having the same thought and not asking. So by asking, you are not demeaning yourself, you are upgrading yourself.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
This is Sonali. Sir, my first question is, what local opportunities exist and which could help to reduce the cost of constructing the new affordable rental housing, sir?
Affordable rental or affordable, you have to rephrase your question. Can you restate your question?
Actually, my question is, which could help to reduce the cost of constructing the new affordable housing, sir?
Like you were saying, sir, you complete it.
Yeah, so that's the question.
Okay. So, see, there are a lot of construction methodologies which are coming into play, and most of them are not local. While there are some various videos and some knowledge series and articles which turn up, but by and large, the cost of constructions are decided by bigger players, because end of the day, bigger players means the people who supply material, like cement, for example, is a very, very important component, and which is controlled by 5 or 6 big companies, large conglomerates. Okay. And steel is again controlled by half a dozen players. So unless steel price, cement price comes down, while there are a lot of technologies around local players doing this, that, and all of them, these are not sustainable on a big scale. In this segment to flourish, what is required is more and more big builders have to step in. They should construct massive projects, the way projects are done in, say, China or somewhere. Like we should have 5,000 units, 10,000 units types projects. Then it becomes much, much more affordable and viable. And then it should have its own ecosystem. So people cannot be staying 40 kilometers away and then keep traveling. So it has to be a combination of houses, ideally in an industrial belt, so that people can travel lesser to reach the place of work. And obviously, the other thing, when there is an industrial belt, then other ecosystem like hospitals, schools follow. So that's, if you ask me, that's the biggest one. Locally, there are a lot of articles or innovations, but from a scale point of view, viability point of view, we have not seen a model where it is bigger in size. Because seeing more from an ICICI Bank's lens, so to speak, part of the group, being part of the group, we have not seen a very, very big models of local cost innovative, whatever. So we see some models in Kerala, some models in 1 or 2 other states, but they are not scalable, at least to our limited understanding this point in time. And at least does not reach the stage where bankers can go on fund purchasing. So by and large, the whole game is more revolving around steel, cement prices. So that is why governments also ensure that such prices are controlled to the extent possible, and the land costs. Because these are all the big movers and shakers. Anything else is more of a fringe. So to that extent, government's role is very, very critical in keeping the affordable really affordable.
Thank you, sir. So my second question is, does having a affordable housing is good for, actually safe for all the class people, sir?
Safe for? Sorry?
All the class people, like everyone in the world.
Yeah, there is no question of not being safe, first of all, because the construction is, see, this is an independent activity in itself. What we are talking about is availability of such units and funding. So if somebody is funding any which way, the quality is absolutely taken care. And you have those local municipality and panchayats which are run by government, which ensures that there is a plan approval and the structure is done. So you don't have to worry about the quality of such houses. Yes, there could be instances where no, there are like government-related large land parcels where contractors are involved, and that could be quality issue. But that can happen in any construction.
Thank you, sir.
Like, yes, yeah.
So this is Bhargavi. We know that HP provides opportunity for partnership and not-for-profit organization, cooperative sectors, increases the supply of affordable housing. So are they actually effective?
Yeah, honestly, so far it is not all that effective. It remained more on paper and more on articles and good to speak items. If you really see hardcore data around affordable housing, it's more of those two constraints which I spoke about. One is the availability of land parcel and related things, which government is trying hard to release. Second is lack of financial support from banks. So unless we work on these two items, this put together will solve 95% of the problem. All others put together will not even solve 5% of the problem. So we need more and more land parcel at an affordable price, and we need more and more bankers jumping into this wagon to fund. If these two happens only, this segment will be fully addressed.
Thank you, sir.
There's no third item which is even very close to this. All other items are like fringe items, if I may use that word.
Thank you, sir. Sir, this is Jay Shah.
Yes, yes.
Sir, can you tell me about the Knight Frank Affordability Index?
See, Knight Frank is one of those multinational institutions which is into property maintenance and all of them. So they compile a lot of data and keep on coming out with various indexes. Right? There are various such indexes, and for example, for property price there is an index. But Knight Frank keeps on doing various such surveys to come out with various indexes to keep the interest alive, which is meant more for bankers and for government authorities. So I don't think you should unduly worry about such indexes, because these are very, very broad in nature. It by per se doesn't mean anything in itself. It only increases the curiosity of common man. Beyond that, at this point in time, I don't think any one of us will understand anything unless we deep dive into such things. And every index, as they say, will have its own challenges and pitfalls. And broadly, it will tell you directionally how things can move up or move down. Okay. Just crudely to say, just give a related example. I don't want to quote Knight Frank and get into deeper into that subject, because it's just one such institution which is doing various such things. Supposing an index says that prices in, say, Saidapet in Chennai has gone up by 12%. Per se doesn't mean anything. The house you are going to go and buy in Saidapet would have gone up by 40%. Some other house would have gone down by 10%. Some other house would have gone up by 5%. On average, it can go up by some percentage. So the individual unit for a buyer, it means nothing. So he should worry about whether broadly he can buy a unit at 40 lakhs, of what size and which location, and what facilities are available. That is what we should worry when we talk about affordable housing. With an index, you're not going to go and buy, right? If the index says Chandigarh is a safer place and cost is lower, you're not going to move from Chennai and go to Chandigarh and buy that house. So this is more from, it's more from people who are at a policy level, who are like bankers who are going to allocate funds. See, as bankers, what we do is we allocate funds to various states, how much they should do. And so for such things, it will be useful. When we find that Rajasthan is going to come out with more affordable projects, then we'll allocate more funds to Rajasthan. When we find that Tamil Nadu is going to do this segment, for that segment, we will internally allocate more funds to them, so that the bankers below, branch managers and the team will focus on such segment. For that purpose, it is useful.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. This is Sudhir Shah. So my question is, how ICICI Bank help its customer to bridge the gap between the salary and affordability?
That is why I said normally ICICI Bank doesn't cater to this segment, because bank needs to validate income, bank needs to validate through whatever, payslip, Form 16, all of them. Or if you are self-employed, you have to validate through IT returns and P&L and balance sheet. So all of them. That is why it is trying to serve this to its 100% subsidiary called ICICI Home Finance, which is where I am working right now. And there we are trying to assess the customer through alternate methods. We are trying to go and impute the income. Like if somebody is running a small restaurant, so we'll send an executive, will go and appraise him, see how many customers walk in, what could be the profitability. A viability study is being made at a small level, micro level, so to speak. Everything we do viability on large scale. So that viability story has now come down to a 10 lakh loan segment, which was never the case in the past. So we are trying to invest through this subsidiary to see how to study this viability, how to lend to the segment. And we are also contributing, we are part of various government initiatives to see how the supply side. There are two constraints I spoke about for all of you to remember. One is land related, second is funding related. Funding related, we are trying to fund all by ourselves, and then there are so many institutions I spoke about. Land related is something which has to come from government. Those 4-5 initiatives I spoke about, which government is also doing. In combination, we believe that this segment can be scaled up further, and the opportunities are limitless. So everybody knows this is a good segment to be in. But since these appraisal methodologies, assessing customers, all of them are challenged, still evolving.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering all our questions, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, over to you, Dr. Ravichandran. Looks like we are through.
How are you, Sathish Kumar?
Absolutely fine, sir. Absolutely fine.
I had a very, actually, I am just abreasting myself about what is happening in affordable housing today. Because I last touched more than 4-5 years.
Yes.
See, what is more interesting to note from your talk is, it is gaining momentum, right?
Yes.
Especially outskirts of metros where people are going for 25 lakhs, 35 lakhs, 50 lakhs, something like that.
Yeah.
Tell me, have they increased the quantum of the affordable housing limit?
In what sense, sir? Size you're talking about?
I'm talking about the quantum. Previously, it was 25 lakhs, something. Metro, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities.
So they have come out with the definition of population. So it's more from a priority sector point of view. Affordable definition remains the same. From banks, priority sector, whatever the target which government gives through RBI. So there they have come out with definitions of what is priority sector loan, part of home loan. There they have defined based on the population of the city and ticket size and the unit size, combination of 3. So that they keep on tweaking. But affordable housing definition by and large remains with the income criteria and the unit size.
What is the kind of ticket size now for the affordable in metros outskirts? Tier 1?
See, for us, it is about 17 lakhs.
Oh.
So based on 17. So based on various other players, because affordable also has multiple grades. So as I say, there's an EWS, LAG, MAG. Somebody is focusing on MAG, then it's no longer affordable. It's like highly affordable type. So because you're talking about an income of 50,000 to 1.5 lakhs, which is reasonably a good ticket size.
Yeah.
So we are not in that segment. In the sense that's categorized by bank itself. We are focusing more on this less than 50,000 per annum income customers. Our challenge is more of assessing whether he is having that 30 to 40,000 because you don't get to see anything in the paper. That has become a bigger challenge than what it is. Because of all you know, he may be earning 1 lakh also, but we don't know what is he earning.
Tell me, Sathish, taking 135, 138 crores population, I'm not asking ICICI. What could be the focus of all housing finance companies in India? What percentage of focus on affordable housing sector vis-a-vis the total disbursement? Total, suppose we take 2 lakh crore or 3 lakh crore, something like that. What could be the size of the affordable housing? I mean, in terms of percentage.
See, as a thumb rule, no industry could be 30 lakh crores. That is what one of the estimates says. So, like bank has 2.5 lakh crores of book. ICICI Bank alone. So, if you are like 8-9%, then it approximately it will be 30 lakh crores. That's the size of the
HDFC is 2.5 lakh crores, something like that.
More than that. They are more than like 3 lakh crores type. SBI, HDFC, ICICI are the top players. Put together, they are there close to 10 types. And all others put together will be another 15 lakh crores. If that is a size, affordability is not even a round of number. It doesn't even exist here. the appraisal methodology, because more deeper you go, the real challenges come up. Real challenge is I don't know how to appraise Sathish Kumar. If I don't know how to, because normally I used to take his payslip, I used to see his bank statement, I used to see his civil scores. All the three doesn't exist. Then how do I appraise him? Then how do I protect myself, protect the institution, protect the investors' money? That is the challenge in which we are stuck, these institutions. But then by and large, some science is emerging around this. Making customers put more equity is one option, and taking multiple market feedback, going and sitting and doing a structured appraisal to see what is the cash flow. So it's nothing new. These things have always happened, but it used to happen for one odd customer where you get references in the past. Now it has to be done on a large scale.
What is the cap on LTV?
LTV caps remains regulatory only. So it's like smaller ticket size, you can go and give up to 90%. So from customer point of view, has to only put 10%. But most of the times you find customers not having the 10% also. The segment which is
that's what I'm asking. Yeah,
that's the challenge.
But you can go up to 90%.
Up to 90%.
Good. I mean, today's situation, your talk is more relevant because today people are migrating from city to outskirts.
Yeah.
Buying the flat for 15 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 25 lakhs, like that. And today, if you ask me the demand and supply, even in the real estate sector,
yeah,
they are more for the mid-sized projects, not high sector or low sector.
Correct.
Affordable housing, as you say, will have a predominant role moving forward. As Prime Minister has rightly said, all should have a roof.
Yes.
So that, I think, what you should do is, I think 5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 10 lakhs, like tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, will give a lot of prominence in terms of affordable housing. And I really enjoyed, after a long time, what to know about the housing. I was more inclined to know, and I just abreast myself after so many years. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. Any more questions, students? If there's no, I think we can conclude vote of thanks, formal vote of thanks to Mr. Sathish Kumar. I really appreciate your time, and the subject is very, very relevant today. I'm very happy to have you this way. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.